You never get in the camera. EDU 221. This is one of the favorite EDU 221 students of all time. De Leon Ortiz. He now teaches District 70. We're going to just dig into his experience. We're going to learn a bunch from this incredible dude. You ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. De Leon, just tell us a little bit about where you went to elementary school, where'd you go to middle school, where'd you go to high school?
So I grew up out in the county, so District 70 student, started at South Mesa Elementary, and then K through 5th grade. Then we switched, we moved out further in the county, went to Violin Middle School, and then from there went to County High School, and I graduated in 2013. So I'm a newer teacher, but District 70 is where I grew up, and I love Pueblo together, so it's hard to, get out of Pueblo right now. So.
Well, Dylan, there's had to be a teacher or two that, man, they just really captivated your heart. Could you talk about a teacher or two that you really liked?
Yeah. So Miss Stanley was my student council and 8th grade history teacher at Violin Middle School. I was a new, all my friends went to Pleasant View, if you guys know the county schools, and I switched to Violin Middle School. And she just took me under her wing and said, hey, you're going to join student council. And I was didn't have many friends out there. I knew a few kids from sports. But once I got into 8th grade, she just, she was awesome. She was a history teacher. We learned so much, Ellis Island history. And she was there as a, as a guidance, a friend. Even now I could message her and ask her questions. She was someone I looked up to as a teacher, and I would say mostly my middle school. Everyone usually hates middle school, but that was my favorite year. I mean, 6th through 8th grade, I could name all my middle school's teachers still today. Miss Connect was an awesome math teacher. I love math. That's one of my math and history. She helped me out get through out pre-algebra, geometry, and so those two teachers, Miss Connect and Miss Stanley, were really awesome in middle school. Even my science teacher, Miss Kreitz, which is Miss Gibbs, which you guys have, you might talk to her, or she came in a couple times, right?
I taught her.
Oh, you taught Miss Gibbs, Miss Kreitz, yeah. So Sandy, she was an awesome 6th grade teacher. She's a principal now, so I go talk to her now and about administration, because that's what I want to do in my future. So.
And she is awesome. Mm-hmm. Great basketball player too.
Oh yeah.
Great basketball player. Now, was there a time, Dylan, where you just said, hey, I want to be a teacher? Can you point a certain time?
At first I was going to school to be a police officer, so that was my first thing. I was 2 years of criminal justice, but teaching was always in my background. I love school, I love learning. So, just when you're a student and a teacher helps you finally say you have a struggle. So when you finally get that, that light bulb goes off, and I'm like, this teacher helped me. So that was, at all those, I can't name a certain time, but when a teacher sits down, helps you, and makes you realize what struggles you're going through. I mean, that's when I realized, this teacher is, they're a hero. They're there for you. They're, I would say middle school would be the most. It's all my middle school teachers were there for me the whole time, and I went through a few injuries through football with concussions, and they helped me, get my homework going, and so those teachers in middle school just, helped me get back to my mentality of loving school, even though with having those 2 concussions in middle school. So I think middle school is where I just fell in love with teachers, understanding that they're there to help, their guidance, their role models. So yeah, middle school is where I kind of was like, hey, I want to do this the rest of my life.
Oh, that's great. And just getting off the subject a little bit, when you went to Vineland, of course I taught at PV, did you guys beat us in football when you were there? I don't remember.
We did. 7th grade we did, 8th grade we did not. So we got them 1 year, and 8th grade we took a loss.
That was quite a rival.
Yes,
it was quite a rival.
Yeah, all
really
my friends that I grew up with, still good buddies, they had Mr. Bro as a teacher, and they talk about his history, his videos that they made, all their projects. So I know if I went to PV, Mr. Bro would probably be on that list, and he is on that list even now, even being my college professor. So he just has, and he said one person that makes you want to be a teacher, if I could have Mr. Bro for any classes, this is the guy. I mean, I wish I had for 3 or 4. So.
Well, I wish I had you. You are outstanding.
Yes.
Ponce de Leon. You are outstanding. So you went to PCC first to study to be a police officer. Mm-hmm. So and then when you there was just something that clicked. You said, no, I don't want to be a police officer. I'm going into teaching.
Yes. So as a police officer, I wanted to serve and protect our community. But after seeing a lot of these children and students with the home life that they have, which is hard, especially in our society, growing up without a dad, mom, raised by grandparents, I wanted to be that role model, someone that they could look up to. And I think being in the criminal justice system, I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of those kids without that male figure, mom, just someone that they could look up to, that they know is going to be there from 8 to 3, Monday through Friday, that stable person in their life. And I felt like I could be that in their life. Every day I'm there. And so that was kind of my turning point, is being that role model in life.
Wow. And I had the extreme privilege and honor to have you in my EDU class. And you're one of those students that I will never, ever forget. Ever forget.
Yeah, thank you.
Just outstanding. I knew whether you're a police officer, but I'm so glad that you are a teacher, and you are an outstanding educator in our community that is impacting kids. And also, I had your wife,
Yep.
Emily, in EDU, and the combo there, you two are like the Kennedy family in Pueblo in education. Both of you are just amazing.
Yeah, my wife teaches 3rd grade out in Pueblo West, so yeah, it's awesome having 2 educators. We could talk a lot about everything going on. She's teaching 3rd and I'm teaching 4th, so it helps out a lot. We build ideas off each other, and sometimes bicker, but mostly build off of each other. Yes, yeah.
That's good. That's really good. So, being a PC student, is there anything that you can tell us right now, because we're at PCC, maybe some tips about PCC that maybe we don't know?
I think PCC was my next. CSUP was great, but like I said, middle school was my favorite, and PCC was my next. It was, having that small community, having 10 to 15 kids in your classes, getting to know a professor like Mr. Bro. Like I said, there's a lot of different professors I still remember. Mr. Alfonso is another, our science teacher. My wife and I, we talk about his class all the time. And Mr. Neely, who taught children's literature. Just getting to know those professors on a one-to-one, is awesome. Hey, can you stay back and talk a minute? And usually most of them have time. They don't have classes back to back. And so I think that's number one, is just to make that relationship with the professor. And at a smaller community college, even CSUP you can as well. I know bigger universities, you don't have that chance as much. So I think you should take that chance and roll with it. Just make that relationship with the teacher, the professor. Even with I know Miss Rosemary's still there. So she was my kind of like a counselor. She helped me out with my classes. Graduation. I have a crazy story. I wasn't going to walk for PCC, and she came over and she's like, I have a gown for your walk-in. I was like, no, I have to work that weekend, and she gave me a cap and gown. So just making that relationships around PCC, knowing faces, is awesome. So I would just say, get to know everyone you can there, even students. I still have lifelong friends I met at PCC from being there, being a small community.
Yeah. And Rosemary, fantastic.
Yes,
we miss her a bunch.
She was awesome, yeah.
So now you go from PCC, you go to CSU Pueblo, which with Dr. Massey over there. What an incredible program they have over there. Give us some tips. When we go over there, what classes should we take? Which ones transferred?
Yes, so all of my classes transferred. What was difficult, because we have all our gen eds pretty much done, so we jumped straight into most of our teaching courses, which you have to have 30 hours in most of fieldwork hours. So there was a couple semesters I had 60 hours. My wife did a couple 90 hours, which is hard, because while you're at CSUP those 4 years, you can kind of break those up after you're done with your gen eds. So that's one tough thing, but it was also awesome, because you could stay at a school from 8 to 3 and see a full day instead of just going for an hour or 2 days. I would say Dr. Massey was my advisor, and she's awesome. She's one that we invited to our wedding, just like Mr. Bro. You make that lifelong, those friends and professors. I still email her as well. There's a lot of change that has happened at CSU Pueblo, which I've talked about, which since I work at Villa Bella, we have a lot of fieldwork students coming straight from the college. But intro to education over there's a technology class. It's awesome. It helps, especially right now, making Google Classrooms with everything we're going with this online platform is a lot of technology. And I think if you dive in there, ask tons of questions, I think technology is going to increase even more after this. You know, even they're talking snow days, you have to send some stuff. So that technology class, I think you guys have to take a lot from that, especially. I look back making all my Google Classrooms, my videos, how to publish YouTube videos. There's a lot of people still, you know, a couple of older teachers, I'm not saying they're older, but you know, we had to help them out a little bit, publishing videos, cropping, you know, shortening those, making iMovies. So that's one class I would say right now, you know, focus on. And as well as working with the professors there. Dr. Peters, I know he's there still, he's awesome. He's the intro to education, so that'll be your first class, I think it's 301. And he helps you out tons. He teaches you how to make a 2 lesson plans. You only have to do 2 lesson plans through that semester, so you really just hone in on those two lesson plans and understand what goes into a true lesson plan.
Oh, that is just good. Now, you know what? We were just starting to talk about the praxis test. And I know we're in contact with Christy. She is the praxis test coordinator at CSUP now.
They have one? Okay,
yeah, they
good.
do.
Okay.
They do, and so she can help study and practice test. But just talk a little bit about the praxis test.
Yeah. So when we went through college, my wife and I, even a lot of teachers that I still talk to today, we didn't have that practice, someone to go to for that. They gave us the form, said, hey, drive to Springs, you know, study. They didn't really give us a lot to study for. I bought a book, which I told many stories, but I'll tell you guys. So it was really much just studying on our own kind of thing. So I love hearing that they have someone to go to for the praxis. You have to take a math, history, science, and reading, which is a 4-hour test. Price was, I think...
And this is an elementary?
Elementary, yes. For elementary, K through 6. So I could teach up to 6th grade, kindergarten to 6th grade, which I'm certified in. And 4-hour test. So you could take a whole lump. So the praxis, Mr. Bro just let me know that the praxis, there is someone to help you out at CSUP, which is awesome. There is a, when I started the praxis, there wasn't really much to go for. They gave us the form, told us where to go. And that was tough on us because we had to find our own, you know, I bought some stuff online, bought books from Barnes & Noble, but that was tough. So there's 4 tests. So the elementary, I forgot what it's exactly called, but it'll get you certified K through 6th grade. So there's a math, history, science, and reading. It's a 4-hour test. And when I first attempted the test, I only passed math, so I had to go back for the 3. The praxis was kind of my my kryptonite, you know, that was, I had a hard time passing history, which I love history, but it was there was civics, there was world history, there's geography, a lot of things that we were, you know, maybe taught that we don't remember through K through 6th grade, even some world history talking about ancient Egypt, you know, China, civics and U.S. history is what I really enjoy, but world history is tough if you're not too big on world history, so I would say that's one to learn about different cultures, different religion. There's a lot of different questions on there. Science is pretty much K through 6, so if you know your K through 6 science, math is the same, and reading as well. History was more broad, and I tell a story. I was driving back from Springs, and I failed my test, and I had my book, and I just tossed it out. I'm like, I'm done with this praxis. You know, I've taken it 4 times, and I was like, if I don't pass this again, you know, teaching's not for me. Which you know, I had everything on my side at that moment, and I went up there and passed the test and got certified. But that's one thing, I don't want it to scare you, but it is important, and it is a pretty long test. It's draining on your brain, that 4 hours, so I would say, you know, study as much as you can, ask for help, do study groups at the end. My wife was studying for it as well, so we went back and forth. We weren't married yet, but we sat down and questions. You know, it was pretty much like, are you smarter than a 5th grader? A lot of those questions on there were some things that maybe a 5th grader would know, but you know, at 25, you know, whatever age, 26, 30, you forget a lot of those things, you know. But I would say just study your hardest, and as well as get with the person at CSU Pueblo and talk to them about what you need to do to succeed in that.
Well, you know, Dylan, I've heard, how many stories about that history exam for praxis. So you are not alone on that one. A lot of students have said, oh man, that was hard. But you did it, and so you passed the test, and then you went to student teach, and you were a student teacher at?
Vineland Elementary, 3rd grade.
Vineland Elementary. And just tell us some of the good, the bad, and the ugly about being a student teacher, if you can.
So I was with my teacher that was my third grade teacher at South Mesa, so it was awesome. You know, she saw my name on the list and she's like, you know, I want Mr. Ortiz, and so we already had, you know, a relationship, which was awesome. When I went into student teaching, I kind of was going towards someone I didn't know, so I didn't feel comfortable. You know, I had to stay on my toes, but it was awesome. Some positive things that came out of that, the relationships I made with those kids, still the learning that I go back and I talk to my teacher that I student taught with, the principal there, and the dean actually when the dean that was there is now my principal at the middle school. So the relationships you meet, he saw how I was teaching, he asked me a lot of questions, asked me to apply for a school, and that's where I'm working now. So I would say while you're student teaching, the professionalism, your time management, you have to show your 110% in there. Don't be late. You know, if they ask you to do something, I would say be on it right away. Complaining, I really didn't complain, and for newer teachers, what I hear from older teachers, some of us go in kind of like we know it all, and I think that was a huge thing for newer teachers. Hey, we just got, you know, out of college, I know how to do this. The teacher I was with, you know, she was real old school. I brought some new school stuff with me, so I was teaching a lot of technology. She taught me a lot about reading, grammar, so, you know, I took everything I could from her, and it was absolutely the best experience I had as student teaching. I didn't want to leave. You know, having two teachers in the classroom is awesome when you have that co-teacher, that A and B. She was teaching, I was in the back checking on students, I was teaching, so that was awesome having that relationship. I think building that relationship with the teacher first is the most important.
That's beautiful. Now, student teaching, you don't get paid. How did you survive financially during student teaching?
So student teaching, you don't get paid, and you put a lot of hours in planning, you know, grading. So I was a server. I only served Fridays and Saturday, which helped out tips. I think that was, I've served about 10 years now. I'm still serving as a teacher, which I love it. It's like my second love. But I would say find maybe a small in and out job. Maybe you could, not too demanding. I know some classes tell you can't work at all. I know UCCS, they say you can't, but they would advise not to because how much you have to do. And this is your future. So I know financial is important, especially people with families, so you can't just get rid of that money. So I would say try to balance out your time with student teaching and, you know, making money, you know, having maybe a morning Friday and Saturday job, maybe a little Sunday job. So just try to manage it as much as you can. I worked all through college, so it was kind of easier for myself. Not easier, it was tough, but I knew how to manage my time between homework, college, and work and family life as well. So I would just say, and give yourself a break every once in a while. I'm hard on myself, you know, trying to make that money, trying to get those lesson plans in, but we need time as well, you know, relaxation, you know, time with family, and mental health is huge, because you can burn out really quick in student teaching. I've seen a lot of student teachers burn out, even friends, like, hey, this isn't for me, and it shouldn't be that way. It should be something you love doing and want to be there every morning with that school.
Oh, that's great. So now you've got your student teaching done. You got that license.
Yep.
You graduated. Did you walk?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that day. Your emotions when you got that diploma and you heard the song.
Yeah, so I graduated in December, so I had actually a whole semester off, which I found a long-term subbing job, which if you have that, if you're graduating now in December, or if you graduate in December, find a long-term sub job, find a school job where you're in a school the whole time. And I got paid, you know, $120 a day, which isn't the best, but it's still, you're making money. $120 a day, I subbed 4 days out of the week. And so that was awesome. But going back to graduation, you know, as a kid, I was the first graduate of my family. So it was my family was behind me, my friends, my wife, she walked with me, so she graduated in December. So walking, my wife and I, we sat right by each other, and just walking across the stage and knowing that we did that together. I did that as myself with a lot of challenges I went through as well, struggles, working. So just feeling that emotion, you know, it was the best feeling in the world. And now hopefully I get my master's, you know, my type D, but that moment, you just have to internalize that day and know that you pushed forward, you worked hard, and you deserved it.
That is fantastic, just fantastic. So now you graduated with a license. Tell us how you got your first job.
Yes, so I did a long-term sub at a school in Pueblo West, Cedar Ridge, and there was a third grade position open there, which was where I thought I was going to be working. So they kept me there a semester. I was doing a maternity leave. She came back and they said, hey, do you want to stay at the school last, April and May? I said, yeah, I would love to. And so they gave me a sort of like a in-district job, and that was amazing. I learned the most during that long-term sub job. But my dean at my old school at Vineland Elementary, where I student taught, started a new school at Villabella, so it was a new public charter school. He emailed me and said, hey, are you still interested? Do you have a job yet? Are you looking for a job still? And I messaged him back, was talking back and forth. I made a couple videos, which for our interview process, you have to make a video of you teaching, a video of you, kind of an interview video about your life, about yourself. And he gave me a call and said, hey, you have an interview. And so that process was tough. There was 10 people on the interview board. I had to go in and teach a 3-minute lesson. I had to do kind of like a rebuttal, so he came in he was acting like a mad parent. I had to talk back and discuss with him, and it was really tough. But willingly I got the job. I started. He gave me a 3rd grade job, which I love. I was looking for 2nd through 4th grade, so 3rd grade was right in the middle, and everything just lined up right exactly where I wanted to be. And I actually had 2 other interviews in Fountain Fort Carson, so jobs were right there for me, and especially right now as teachers. I talked to older teachers. My mother-in-law taught for 25, 30 years. She said, hey, there was 50, 60, 100 people in the resumes trying to get jobs. And now as a teacher, it's awesome that you get to pick and choose what district you want to work for, what school, and that is a blessing in itself, because I had a choice to work up in Fort Carson or work here in District 70. So it was awesome to see those 2, and he called me on a Friday and said, hey, well, this job's for you. And I talked to him. I said, hey, I have an interview on Monday. I want to be truthful up in Fort Carson. And he's like, all right, I'll give you to the end of the day. So I had to make that decision, which was tough. Hey, do I turn this job down that I've been looking forward to and talking to the whole time, a new school to better our community in Pueblo, which I love, or do I go out and try to get a job in Springs? And so I decided, since I want to better my community and where I grew up, I stayed here in Pueblo and took the job.
Wow, that's great. So okay, Mr. De Leon,
all right.
Tell us about your first year teaching.
Yeah, so first year teaching, you have those butterflies, that excitement. You were ready to jump in there, your classroom. That first day, I think I woke up at 6, was sitting in my classroom, waiting for the kids to come in. You're just so excited. And first year was absolutely amazing. It was a new school where I was at, new material, new curriculum. I was so excited. It was so much fun. I had an awesome class, which makes even having an awesome class. They were fun. They were talented, smart. You could joke around with them. So having that kind of relationship with those kids, we got it off right away. We had a great relationship, and that first year teaching was absolutely amazing till you get to a burnt out point, because you do get burnt out in that first year. But that first year, I wish I could go back and have that first, couple 3 months, back at it. Everything's new, exciting. You're having fun with the kids, your new coworkers. It was absolutely amazing being a teacher and seeing them come in every day. Kids telling you stories. That's my favorite part. Every morning we have 30 minutes of, we call it crew time. We tell stories. We see how their day's going. We check on each other. So really seeing that morning of, being a human being and coming in and having a bad day. Kids would tell me I had a bad day. Sometimes I went in not feeling well. I said, hey kids, having that communication. So just building that relationship was absolutely amazing that first year.
That's a great idea.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so this, how many years is this now?
It's second. I'm going to go to my second.
It's your second year. You've taught both at a regular school and now a charter.
Yes.
What's the difference? What is the good and the bad from each?
Okay. Yeah, so the regular school, so I was at Cedar Ridge out in Pueblo West, which was awesome, great community out there in Pueblo West. The curriculum is a little different when you're out your own school. You have your math, which is Bridges and 70. 60 has a little bit of different. I know they were working with New York Live, which is, so you have your few math curriculums and some of your grammar, your literacy curriculums, but a lot of stuff is on your own. Your writing, your journaling, your history, science is on your own when you're in a regular school. You have to come up with most of your own curriculum. You have to go by standards, which is our Colorado standards, but you come up with your own ideas, your own assignments, your tests. So that was one which was fun at the regular school, at a public school, because you had Dr. Seuss. We did a lot of writings about Dr. Seuss. You have history, Martin Luther King Day. You had that kind of chance to do all those history and different days. President's Day, which was fun, so we did pick your favorite president, research them. And then at a charter school, which is awesome because they give you a curriculum to teach out of, so they're modules. So each module is a little different. There's 4 modules through the year. My first module, I would say last year, was challenges and learning challenges around the world. So we went and looked in Africa, in Egypt, in Afghanistan. We learned about how girls can't go to school in Afghanistan. So it was more of a cultural wide. So they gave us more to teach, which was awesome. But you also could, that first year I was going more by the books instead of branching out. But I think through my years having a module and having a curriculum that I have to teach, I could put my spin on it. That first year you kind of have to follow it. You're kind of a new teacher. You're trying to just get your feet wet with everything. But that was the awesome part, was having something as a first year teacher to go by. So, lesson plans, what you need to teach, what kind of dates you have to get by, finish module between these 2 months. So that was an awesome thing about having a module, was just having that time management, what to teach, how to teach it. They gave you teaching points, talking points. So that was awesome in that sense. You didn't really have to come up with your own, but you still have that creativity.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, lesson plans.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about the lesson plans that you had to do in college.
Yeah.
This is actual lesson plans. Do you have to do them?
So this year we do, just because everything with COVID. If I get sick, I have to have 2 weeks in advance. So a week to 2 weeks, just in case if sub has to come in, or another teacher in the building, or our curriculum coach. So we have extra bodies, So this year we do. Last year was a little different. But it's still not as much as your laid out lesson plan. So a lesson plan in college takes you maybe an hour to write for one lesson plan, which is a lot, but you need to know what goes into an objective, what goes into your lesson planning, your closing statement. But as a teacher, I put my standards on my lesson plan, what standards I'm hitting that week or that day, and then I put objectives, so what that lesson of that day is going to entail, and then a little, like a brief summary, like we're going to poetry, write a poem about a dog. So it's real subtle, real small. I know what we're doing. If I had a sub, I would have to elaborate and go more into it. But as a teacher, you don't have to do a full blown out lesson plan, which I love. So you make sure you have your standards, just in case your administration, someone goes in and say, hey, are you hitting these standards? Which is, all schools have to have their standards in there. But the lesson plans are definitely much smaller and more to your own style, which is awesome. So they let us do our own lesson plans. I have like a little template, like a calendar, and I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I have my hours, what I'm doing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So, lesson 1, module 1, unit 1, the standard, and just a little bit about it. So it's not too intense. This year, with everything going on with our COVID, it has to be a little bit more, but through the years, I think you'll go back to our regular, just our few little things on there.
Oh, that's good. Mm-hmm. Bulletin boards.
Yes.
Tell us about bulletin boards.
Yeah, so bulletin boards are awesome. So our school, which modules, or even when I was at my other school, if I go back and forth, my other school, on my bulletin boards during Dr. Seuss Day, so we had Dr. Seuss writing. So on the bulletin board, we put our bulletin boards on there. It's pretty much to show your kids' work, show other kids what you're doing in the class. Even like the kindergartners come up and see what's on your bulletin board. It makes them excited to be in 3rd grade or 4th, the next grade. So they're seeing what those older students are learning, and even the older students get to see again what the younger students are learning again, go back, hey, I did that, and so it makes them really excited. We did a lot about the life cycle in 3rd grade last year. So we had the life cycle of a frog, of amphibians, of birds, and so the kindergartners, 1st grade were coming by, seeing the life cycle on our bulletin board. We got to dissect a frog, so we had pictures of the frog up there, so you got to go see the different parts of the frog, the anatomy of it. So it's really cool being able to own your own bulletin board. Myself and my co-teacher, we share it, so we kind of have to do one, or share the board, but some schools have your own, so that's cool to go up there and put your own spin on your bulletin board, and check-ins maybe if you want to do check-ins, things students enjoy, so it's really cool posting a bulletin board all the time.
That's really good. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you a sentence and you fill in the blank, okay?
All right.
My favorite thing about being a teacher is
making relationships.
The worst day I ever had teaching was...
Well, that's a tough one. Knowing that I wasn't able to help a student, and at the end of the day, at that 3 o'clock, they get to go home, and we had to shut the door right then and there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah.
a really good answer. Parents,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we hear stories and about sometimes parents can be difficult.
Yes.
Have you had any of that experience?
Student teaching, I had one, which I was a student teacher, but I was kind of taking over the class, and this parent wasn't, I don't know, fond of a student teacher in there. Kind of, they wanted their student having the best, and kind of telling myself that I don't know their child, I don't know what they need. So that was kind of my largest, kind of one I remember. She was kind of telling me, hey, you're just a student, you don't know what my child needs, you don't know what they want, you're just a student. So I kind of felt like degraded that, hey, I'm in college and students should treat a student teacher just as much as a regular teacher with that respect. And I think parents should understand, hey, that's my profession. Like, maybe I don't know everything, but hey, I'm going to try and do my best. So I think that was one of my hardest, was the parent kind of saying, hey, I'm just a student teacher, I'm still in college, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Yeah. How do you communicate with parents now?
Yeah, so parents, even now I've said parents are scary. I said sometimes if I could just deal with the students, I would love, teaching even more than I do right now. Sometimes parents can be a little scary. I'm not a parent yet, but that's their life, their kid are in there, they're trusting us as teachers. So I communicate with Class Dojo, which is a class app. I have all their emails, all their phone numbers, so I could send out a group message. Hey, tomorrow have all your kids bring a water bottle, be ready for a field trip. It goes to all teachers at once, or all parents. They'll go text message and email, which is awesome. So if a parent doesn't get on their email, they'll still get a text message.
Wow.
So Class Dojo is what I used last year and using this year, and it's been great so far. And as well, we have a Google Voice, which I would say you would, if you have the chance to make one, because I don't give my phone number out, I give this Google phone number out, and so at certain times I shut it off. So from like 5 to 9, no one, if they call, they have to leave a message, and I'll get back to it in the morning, just to give you that little time at home, so they know you have your office hours. So it kind of gives that time to shut off. Unless it's emergency,
Wow.
I tell them then text, hey, can you talk right now, this emergency? And of course, we're human beings, I always give that emergency, family issues, family emergencies.
Wow, that is absolutely
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
What advice, we're just starting off, so you've been down this journey, you've been down this road before. What advice would you give us, those things that we probably need to do, so we'll be ready to teach like you?
Say one is don't get discouraged. Keep your head up. Sometimes it feels like your head's right above water, but your head's still above water. It's a positive thing. So always pick out those positive things in life, through college, through your work. I think having that positive mindset is huge as a teacher, because you do have a lot of things going on that teachers don't get paid enough, teachers don't get this, our teacher's not teaching the right. So there's a lot of negativity on teachers as well. Even in college, I got a lot of, hey, you're going to school to be a teacher, must be easy, which was I still hate that quote. Like, if you're talking to an engineer student, nursing, doctor, and yeah, it might be easier to what you're learning, but it's still hard for what we're going through as well. We have our challenges. So that's one, is just to keep your positive mindset, keep moving. Two is always be on top of it, being organized. Through high school, I wasn't the best at organization, but being organized, having all your dates, having a calendar, having when things are due, when things, if you're at midpoint of a due date, hey, you're almost here, you haven't even started it, you should probably start at a midpoint. Like, you're not going to try, things happen, but turning something in last minute is probably not the best as a teacher. There's a few times I get busy on weekends. I made a lesson plan, but didn't really look towards or look forward. And that Monday morning, I'm sitting there, and the kids are just taking control of my classroom because I'm not ready and I'm not set. So being organized, having things ready for you guys for the next day. And through college, just trying your best. Don't get discouraged if you fail a test. That's a big thing. We're human beings.
Okay.
All right. So one thing to do as a teacher, or even as a student, to give you that break, that rest, that that little breather, is to find hobbies. Which I was talking to Mr. Bro. I didn't have a hobby at that point, and so I started picking up fly fishing. And fly fishing, saved my mental health as a sense of going out there, being alone, or being with a friend, family members, being out on the river. Before that, I thought sometimes we think hobbies are, going shopping, spending money, doing different things, and if you're hurting in the end of that hobby, it's not a hobby. And so you should be succeeding, feeling better after that hobby, not, being worse. And so I think going through school, going through life, having that outlet. You know, even some people love to work out, some people love to run. Have that hobby or have that outlet that you have to go to, you know. And I think talking is the biggest point. Don't bottle stuff in, you know, have someone to go and talk to for that, you know, expressing some things. You know, teachers build up, I've seen it this year with the struggles we've had to go through as teachers this year. All these teachers have all this built up aggression and emotion, and they don't really have an outlet, and they start going off, you know, on administration, on other teachers, you know, sometimes on students, which is hard because that's, you know, your first point. So, you know, just be real open, and sometimes it's hard to be open as a person, but to give that breather, I think you should be able to breathe. And if you have stuff, you know, bottled in, you're not going to be able to breathe. And so that's one thing I think, as myself, is I bottle everything, is to be able to talk, understand, know that everyone's going through a struggle at some time. As a new teacher, as an older teacher, mid teacher, but new teachers, I would say, you know, find something you love to do and do it. That's.
Let's say you've had a really tough day.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, when you come home, how do you get a good night's sleep, or do you have any tips or tricks to, you know, when your mind is just racing because of whatever happened during the school day? Do you have any tips for us to just help us ease into the night and get a good night's sleep?
Yeah, so this year's, I mean, a tough year in all of just saying what's going on, everyone knows what's going on, but there's a few, we had to teach online and in person. So I'm getting home working 6 to 7, and I'm just like, you know, you're frustrated, you're mad. Not so much administration, you're mad at, you know, all these things going on. We have to do all this extra work as a teacher, saying we're not getting paid for it. But one thing when I get home, I have to understand that if I can't, and I know a lot of people say this, but you really have to internalize this. If you can't change it, or if you don't have a way to change it, then you kind of have to let it go, kind of. And I get home, my wife and I, we talk about a few things, and I think that helps. We talk about it, we work things out, and then we let it go through the night. We love watching movies. I put a movie on, watching a movie, reading a book. I mean, there's a few times I'm starting to read a few different books. Working out, sometimes, you know, you just have to go for a walk, you know, go to the nature center, go out and just get your mind off of it. My wife and I, she loves going for walks, so that's one thing that we both do, and she's a teacher as well. So we're both coming in sometimes having a hard day. In the same hard day, you have, you know, your family members coming in, and so everyone's just at your throat. So I would say take a breather, relax, you know, and food, sometimes you shouldn't always go to, you know, go get your favorite bowl of ice cream. Sometimes you have that rough day, you know, treat yourself. You're only a human being. Go get that pizza you want. You know, that's one thing that I love my food. You make a good bowl of pasta, enjoy all those carbs, you know, some bread, work out. So it is, on these hard days, even now, even tomorrow, we don't know what we're up against with everything going on right now. So it's just, you can't control what you can't control. And I think in that sense, right now, you have to let it go and understand tomorrow is another day, and that your best interests are for the students right now, not anything else around it. So for yourself, you have to reflect and understand, but in the end of the day, tomorrow's a new day. So you get home, relax, you know, lay on the couch, take a nap, you know, listen to some, I love listening to music. On the way home, I'm jamming out. My wife gets in the car and we go get something to eat, and the music's at 100. So that's, I turn on the music on the way home, favorite rock band, you know, rap, country song, you know, and I just jam out, you know, find something, roll down the windows, you know, get a ice cold, you know, slushy, get from Loaf and Jug, stop real quick, and just enjoy that time on that drive home and just reflect, you know, let it all go through. So driving is my favorite, just listen to music.
Wow. De Leon, you are absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Man, I've known you for a little while now, and I could tell the first minute that you are going to be an outstanding educator that are going to impacting kids for generations to come, along with your wife Emily. Both of you are rock star saints in my eyes, and two of my favorite people on the planet Earth. And thank you so much, Dylan. I'm just so proud of you, and I'm so proud of your wife Emily for all that you're doing for our kids. And you are wise beyond your years, my friend.
Try to be. Thank you, Mr. Bro.
So thank you so much, Dylan. Let's give him a whoop whoop class, Edie. Whoop whoop. Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you, guys.